Hey everybody, welcome back to Stamping School. I got a little bit of a different project for you today using this really pretty paper that's coming out May 6th. Should I wait till May to show it? Probably, but you can add it to your list if you're not a demonstrator. If you're a demonstrator, you can pre-order it now, but it's going to be in this annual catalog that starts May 6th, 2025. And it's called Beautiful Gallery. It is 6 by 6, so you get 4 of each, so 48 sheets. And it's just beautiful. You know, the concept artist at Stampin' Up, there's somebody there, and I can't remember her name, but she does the most beautiful painted artwork, and then they turn it into designer paper. So she paints it on canvas, and then they photograph it. So, I mean, so pretty. Beautiful prints on the other side, too. Pretty botanical. So when I saw this for the first time, I thought, oh, it would make such pretty artwork. So I'm going to show you one 3D art project with it. And then I'm going to show you a card. I mean, you can tell it looks textured, but it's not. It's so pretty. This might be one of my favorites that they've done with, you know, the oil painting on canvas papers. This might be one of my favorites. So pretty. That's the new cloud cover. I love that print. I used to have an ottoman that looked just like that. Great fabric. Had little elephants in it. So pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? This doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand the map on this side. All the rest of them have very pretty soft backgrounds, and this one, I don't understand the map on it. But I'm sure the artist had an idea in mind, and somebody will do something with it. But isn't that just beautiful? I mean, just by itself is a beautiful card. How pretty. That's the new Secret Sea in color with cloud cover mixed together. It's just so pretty. Oops, that's the back of one. Oop, I missed one, sorry. Oh, there we go. That's an interesting one too. Sort of like a pen and ink or charcoal drawing or something. But I really like that side. Very pretty. So when I saw this one, it just looked like it belonged in a frame, but it needed more on top of it. And there's a few videos that were going around where they take thrift store paintings and then they add Modge Podge over top of it to make it look like a real textured oil painting. So I thought, well, let's try it with a designer paper. That's kind of fun. And this is what it looks like. So if you feel it, there is texture on it. I'm going to show you how to do that. It is such a cool effect. And I found these frames on Amazon. I'll link to them. They come in like 8 colors. Now, what I was doing with it, I had a little place on this wall that I have, and my wall, it's called Cornwall Slate, like gray, but it's really more of a green. So I made 3 of these for a little corner area in the house. I know you can't see that very well, but they look really nice. So I chose this white distressed frame that they had. They come in a pack of 4 for $20, and I think they are they're like $5 each, obviously. So if you're doing a class or something, these are kind of fun. See how it looks like oil painting? And it's textured? Oh, it's so fun. I'll show you how to do it. And surprisingly, these frames, I've ordered frames from Amazon before, and they were plastic. These are glass. So it comes, they're very nicely done for $5 a piece, basically. They're really nice. It's real glass. And a mat even. So I'll save that. They're real glass. I'll save it and I can change this out for something different. I can paint the frame. I can, you know, so I'm going to save it. But we're just going to use this and this. Now, before we start, I'll show you the card option. I'm going to show you also. Look at this. It's so cool. So even if you're not into the 3D thing, it's a really fun way to add texture to your designer paper. I know we don't sell Modge Podge, but I'm going to link it below. I found, I wasn't sure if I wanted the matte or the gloss, and so when I ordered these, it came with, I don't know, like 3 of these brushes, and these 2 for about $16. and because I wanted both, and they're huge, so you might not need these big things, but I'll link to them anyway. And if you're a crafter, you probably have Modge Podge, but I'm going to use a combination of both of these. I feel like to get that real oil painting look, you need both. So we start with the gloss, and this is the easy part, and it dries so quickly. It really does. The first part with the gloss is just everywhere. You're just going to put it everywhere in like little, you don't have to worry about what this looks like, little cross-hatch strokes everywhere. And it's going to dry within a few minutes, really under 5 minutes, maybe under 3 minutes. But you just want to get every place, and you don't want to over soak it because you don't want the paper to warp. And what I kind of did several of these, like trying to learn the best way to do it. And I know people who do real oil painting are going to cringe when they see what we're doing, but this is all I can do because I don't know how to oil paint. But it is fun and kind of crafty. So it's going to be a little glossy everywhere and kind of in just little cross hatches, okay? All right, then we let that dry, and then we go to the matte. Now, while that dries for a second, I'll tell you, I did the cardboard that comes in our designer paper, just the chipboard stuff. You want something a little heavier, and we're going to glue that to this before we put it into the frame. It just gives it a nice little thing. But my first pass at this, I glued them together first, and then they kind of buckled together from the moisture. So don't do that. We're doing just this. Now look, it's dry. Just while I was talking, it's dry. We're going to the matte Modge Podge. And this is where you want a little bit smaller brush and an old paintbrush, whatever. It doesn't have to be this small, actually. Maybe I'll use this one. I save all my old brushes that don't work anymore. All of your Wink Stellas, don't throw them away. You open them up, toss out the bulky thing in the middle, and rinse them out really well, and they make wonderful water brushes. Even just paint brushes on their own, they're just wonderful. Don't get rid of those. But this is an old one. You just want a brush, and this is where you get to kind of be artsy, and you're just gonna paint around the flower. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you kind of wanna have it a little thicker so that when it dries, it's going to raise up a little bit, okay? And this is what really gives it that cool texture when you look at it once it's dry. And I'm not an artist, but all you're gonna do is paint it on. You can do this for cards too. You don't have to make it just for a 3D thing, but you see how I'm kind of slapping it on? See that? It's thick. That's what you want. That's what you want. And even here, I'm gonna add it down here just to give it some texture. Nothing fancy. You can do your leaves. This is gonna dry with very little sheen because it's the matte. So it's gonna give it just a little bit extra of the texture. What I found though is that with the matte, it just didn't have the shine that I thought that it should have for being an oil painting. It just needed something. So what they're doing with these thrift store paintings is kind of cool. You know, they take any landscape or whatever you want and you go over it with this Modge Podge technique and then you frame it. It really does look like an oil painting. So you can take something that's printed and cheap looking and make it look kind of cool. Now, rinse your brush out with water, obviously, so you can use it again. Now, you could Modge Podge it to this. I did that, and I felt like it was just too wet. I felt like I needed, it wasn't the best in that scenario. So I'm going to tape, and I'm going on the very corners. I'm using my seal, but any kind of strong tape that you have. Go to the corners. If you want to do the Modge Podge, you can. I would just make sure that you can really smooth it in there and keep it flat because you don't want any bubbling happening. This is 6 by 6, so it's going in here. All right, while that's drying, now you wanna, obviously this would be dry before I taped it down, but I'm filming, so, you know, we can time lapse it. So once that's dry, I can smush it down on the tape. And that's really the benefit of the tape versus that, because, you know, it really does work better. Now, once this is dry, and that's, you can see how it's starting to dry. Once it's dry, you can put one more light coat of the gloss on it. And that's what makes it look so pretty in the end, because, and I can just show you on this one because I've already done it, but literally you're just gonna take, before you put it in the frame, and you're gonna cross hatch it again everywhere. And you'll see if you missed a spot, once it's dry, it'll be flat in one area. But it is so pretty. It's so pretty. And what a great little gift idea for somebody, you know? I think I would give this as a gift. But can you see the raised texture? I don't know if you can. I hope you can. It's so cool. It's so pretty. And there's so many designer papers that we say, gosh, this could be art, and this is kind of one of them. So, so I did a set of 3 of mine here, because they all kind of went together for the, you know, I kind of had 3 there. You could do 4, you could do however many you wanted to. And like I said, because my paint is darker, I went with this finish. So I'll link to the frames and the Modge Podge below. I started a little store area yesterday in Amazon because there's so many things that I like to use that I can recommend to people. So I'm gonna link to those. All right, look at this one. Now this one I embossed on top of it with the folder that looks, the textured art folder. This one, I don't have the new one, but it looks like that. So the new one is larger and it has like oil, which would be great too. I'm gonna try it without the embossing folder on it, and I'll show you how to get this little edge using the Modge Podge. Can you see that gold? I wanted something that looked kind of antique. This one, I added Versamark around the edges and gold embossing powder instead of using gold foil paper because I wanted it to be a little stipply looking. But then I thought, could we use Modge Podge with the gold embossing powder and give it a more unique effect? And we can. It looks great. So let me show you that. This is the cloud cover. Use the matte finish, not the gloss, because the gloss will stay glossy, and if you miss a spot, it looks funny. Okay. Have your tray ready with some gold embossing powder in it, a paper plate, something, and you're going to take a little bit of the Modge Podge and just wipe across the edges. Now, it dries quickly, so what I do is I kind of go across it, and you don't want to get all of it because obviously you want to have that vintage look. Bring in your tray and put that on there. Obviously I need a little bit more. That's a little scant right there. Okay. Now you don't have to heat it right away. You can keep going all the way around if you want to. Or you can heat it as you go. The Modge Podge, it will take a little bit longer for the embossing gun to heat it, which I thought was interesting. And it even bubbles up a little, but it doesn't smell. So that's kind of good. So you're just gonna do that, and I just hold it like this and go all the way around the 4 corners, or the 4 sides. So it takes a little longer, and you gotta really stay on it, but it bubbles up, and it gives it sort of a different texture than just plain embossing. And you'll see, look at the difference. Not that there's one better than the other, but I do like the way this is just sort of vintage looking, like it was a gold frame and some of it got worn off, you know? And it's sort of thick in some places. So, or you could just use gold foil and avoid the whole crafty mess. But I really like how it looks on here. See that? Just around the edges. So I did this exactly the same way. I went in first. You can actually just go first with the matte and paint over the flowers and let that dry, and then go back over it with the luster everywhere and cross hatch it. And then at the end, if you want to, you can take a little bit and splatter, just a little bit on the after you're done of that, and then add some gold powder, and then you've got a few little gold speckles throughout the paper too. You can do that with any glue, with our white glue, but see how there's just a few of those? And then they're gonna, when you heat them, they kind of bubble up and look, you know, kind of cool. So that's what I did, and then glued it down really well all the way around once it was dry. Now this one, like I said, I embossed it first. I embossed the paper first with the folder. I don't know if you really need that. I think it's pretty just the way it is. You could literally, I don't know if you need all this extra texture, but it is kind of cool. And then I just stamped a vertical greeting. This one is going away. It's on the last chance list, So Sincere. I love vertical greetings, as you know. And so I stamped that one, and then a little piece of that Secret C. And then the ribbon, we didn't have any of the new cloud cover ribbon yet. So I just took my cloud cover marker and this white ribbon that sort of has it's like a thin cloth feeling white ribbon that we have, but any white ribbon would work. And just took my marker and then just gently, don't ruin the brush tip, but just kind of go from the side, and then created my cloud cover ribbon that dried, and I just tied them all together, punched a hole, and fed the gold thread through it. So that's what I did, because it was so pretty. I didn't want to put anything else on it. And on the inside, I don't know what I'm going to say yet, so I just use another piece of the paper and a little piece of that pattern paper at the bottom. So, this was fun. I felt crafty this week. Get your Modge Podge out. Give it a try. It was really fun. And I think it'd be fine for a class. I think it dries fast enough, it would work. So we'll see you next week, and we'll have something else. See it, learn it, stamp it.